Alright, we got some more good news on Lakers rookie Adou Thiero. Earlier this month we got confirmation that he was back on the court and at least cleared to be doing individual workouts again, which was a great sign for him after getting hurt late in his college career, suffering a knee issue back in February that held him out for the rest of his college career, also preventing him from playing in the Lakers Summer League team, and that was a bit disappointing for both fans and the team alike. But now we have an update about his overall health situation, where he's at in his recovery, and if he'll be ready for the Lakers training camp, which does begin in late September. According to Dan Woke of The Athletic, he's been told that Thiero has been working out in the Lakers facility and is expected to be ready for training camp when it does open at the end of September. Obviously a great update for him, obviously the fact that he's back on the court, working out, getting to work on his individual game, and potentially having a chance to maybe crack the Lakers rotation or offer them something at the very least. That's kind of what it's looking like for Adou Thiero here. And well, that does give him roughly 2 months or at least over a month and a half to work on his individual game, being healthy throughout that point, getting ready for training camp, and maybe adding more to his game prior to training camp. I mean, he's definitely running out of time here, and it might not be enough time to add a reliable 3-point shot, for example, something that he does not currently have and did not show much of throughout college. Maybe simply getting used to the speed of the NBA, working with individual trainers to prepare for that, maybe offer another defensive-minded athletic wing within the rotation, potentially pushing a guy like Jared Vanderbilt for playing time, or simply offering them a backup plan if he would get hurt or somebody else in the rotation might get hurt. That might be the outlook for Adou Thiero here, but I imagine that he probably wants more than that and definitely will be trying to push for more than that too. So with that being said, could Adou Thiero become a rotation player for them, an every game rotation player for them? What's the value that he could or would add to the rotation? And what does he have to do throughout training camp to actually get that playing time and actually prove to JJ Redick that he can be trusted? We'll talk about that, his current health status, and simply about his future with the team going forward, both in the short term and long term as well. And well, if this does happen to be your first time hearing about Adou Thiero, how they got him and what they have with him, here's a quick rundown on that. The Lakers selected Adou Thiero with the 36th overall draft pick, which they got by trading up twice in the NBA draft, initially having the 55th overall draft pick, trading that draft pick with cash to move up to 45th, then trading the 45th overall draft pick with more cash to move up to the 36th overall draft pick, where they kind of unexpectedly drafted Adou Thiero, as many thought they would or kind of hoped they would draft a center at that point. Though following the loss of Dorian Finney-Smith and them likely knowing that could or would happen, I think they definitely had some good foresight by drafting Adou Thiero. Not entirely replacing Dorian Finney-Smith, obviously you can't really do that and replace a well-established, reliable veteran like Dorian Finney-Smith that easily, but replacing the height and length within the rotation, replacing the position, or rather in the rotation at least, Adou Thiero being a forward, both a small forward and a power forward combo, being listed at roughly 6'6.5" without shoes on, probably around 6'8" with shoes on, and that kind of was confirmed at Luka Doncic's press conference following his new contract. Here we can see Adou Thiero standing next to both DeAndre Ayton and Rui Hachimura. Adou Thiero wearing some loafers that don't add much to his height, Rui Hachimura wearing legitimate shoes and they look to be identical in height, Hachimura being listed as a legitimate 6'8" without shoes on, and yes, without shoes, so I think we can say that Adou Thiero is also 6'8" or pretty damn close to it. And that's kind of the rundown of how they got him, his overall measurements, and where he kind of falls within the rotation. You know, right now I'd probably put him at the 11th or 12th rotation spot in their overall rotation and simply on their team. You know, definitely on the outside looking at this point, falling behind guys like Jake LaRavia, Jared Vanderbilt, obviously Rui Hachimura and LeBron James in their forward rotation, probably even falling behind Dalton Knecht, making him the 11th or 12th man off the bench. So he might not have a clear pathway to playing time quite yet, but it wouldn't take much if they have an injury or two within the rotation. And with guys like Vanderbilt, Vincent, Smart, even guys like LeBron having some injury histories in the past few years, there definitely could be an opportunity for him, so he better stay ready so he doesn't have to get ready, as I imagine they will eventually turn to him throughout the season. And if he proves to be reliable in that time frame, when he eventually does get that opportunity, he might be able to stay within the rotation if JJ Redick believes in him and trusts him enough after that point. And you know, something that does tend to grab the attention of a head coach, especially when talking about a role player that doesn't get many consistent rotation minutes, does happen to be defense and simply doing the little things on the court, which is something that Adou Thiero definitely can do and did plenty of throughout college too. If we're talking about numbers here, then there's definitely plenty to point to with him. If we're talking about steals per game, then he averaged 1.6 of them per game last season in only 27.5 minutes per game, translating to over 2 of them per 40 minutes, also averaging over 1 block per game per 40 minutes, not only last season but throughout his entire college career, even averaging 2 of them per 40 minutes during his sophomore year at Kentucky. Or if you want to talk about steal percentage or block percentage, having a 2.7% steal rate throughout his entire college career, also having a 3.8 block percentage throughout his entire career, which is very impressive as a wing player and even would be pretty good for a center. So there's definitely plenty of defense to point to here with Adou Thiero. That's simply talking about the numbers, but plenty to point to with the eye test too. Simply how athletic the guy is, how he never gives up on play, and especially in the open court. Adou Thiero definitely is the hard-working kind of player that can tend to crack a rotation spot from purely that alone. I mean, look at some of the plays he was making on defense last year. Whether you're talking about help side defense and help side rim protection, getting back on plays and getting some unexpected blocks at the rim, picking up guys full court and being a backcourt pest, getting steals, takeaways leading to fast court dunks. Adou Thiero seemed to be everywhere on the court, and especially if you're talking about defense, which is something that could definitely catch the eye of a guy like JJ Redick, especially with their current rotation and current team not having many guys like him. You know, not many athletic, defensive-minded players in the rotation. Obviously Jared Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart, but after that point, not a whole lot of them to point to. So maybe Adou Thiero could actually catch the attention doing that, making some hard-working plays on defense, turning some defense into offense, and breaking out and getting the crowd on his side by throwing down some monstrous dunks while doing it. That could definitely be a pathway for Adou Thiero that he can do that not many other guys in their team can do. And you know, in my opinion, that's the advantage that Adou Thiero has over a guy like Dalton Knecht, for example, who is kind of reliant on getting touches offensively, getting the ball to turn to points and knocking down 3-point shots. That's kind of Dalton Knecht's bread and butter, and while it's very different and not something that Adou Thiero can do, again, he's not reliant on getting the ball here. If you throw him out on the court, he can make an impact through defense, hard work, rebounding, doing the little things on the court, something that Dalton Knecht isn't very proficient at and not very consistent at doing. That's not the case for Adou Thiero here. You can actually put him out there, and regardless whether he scores or not, he can give your team actual production. However, that impact will be limited until he does become more reliable offensively, which up until this point he is not proven capable of doing, definitely not in regard to 3-point shooting or really off-ball play in general. You know, he's not a bad on-the-ball player, a guy that can definitely get to the rim and finish it with authority around the rim when he gets there, is a crafty finisher around the rim, even has a decent floater and pretty good touch around the rim, even apart from simply dunking it and using his athletic ability. Though he does have major improvement to show on offense, and again in regard to shooting ability, playing off the ball, knowing when to make timely backdoor cuts, and learning the ins and outs of an offense, especially at the NBA level. That's something he does have to show improvement on. And until he does, he can't become a reliable, consistent option within a rotation. You know, much like Jared Vanderbilt, will be limited to probably 15 to 20 minutes per game due to his offensive ability, or rather inability. And that's something that Adou Thiero definitely doesn't want to be limited to in the NBA. So he's got to show improvement. I mean, it's not a short-term problem for him or their team in general. Again, I think he probably could and would offer value in some matchups, simply using his athletic ability and ability on defense to take advantage of some teams, or simply put him out there when they have guys hurt ahead of him. I think Adou Thiero could offer their team that, and probably even this season. But if we're talking about the long term with him and something he doesn't want to be limited to, then we definitely have to talk about offensive improvement. Doesn't have to be this season, probably doesn't even have to be next season, at least not to be perfect yet and not to be a knockdown 3-point shooter. But if we're talking about 2 to 3 years down the road here, where his contract does become non-guaranteed at that point, then he does have to show improvement offensively by that point. Whether it be 3-point shooting improvement, off-ball play in general, you know, that's definitely the number one thing for him. If you're not a center in the modern NBA, then you kind of have to be a 3-point shooter, no other way around it. But then talking about his off-ball ability in general, making timely backdoor cuts, learning in offense, and getting up to the speed of the NBA, especially on offense, that's kind of the other step for Adou Thiero here and what he does have to work on here as well. So with all of that being said here, what do you guys think about Adou Thiero? Do you think he could or maybe will become part of their rotation? Or will he simply be an injury replacement and kind of a backup for their team and love to work on his game and not be put too much pressure on quite yet? More so looking toward the future with him, eventually filling that Jared Vanderbilt role for their team, maybe even as a true 3-and-D option and being better than Jared Vanderbilt. How do you feel about Adou Thiero, both in the short term and long term with the Lakers going forward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.